And good morning, everyone. Welcome to our Thursday morning business chat. And we've got some wonderful stuff to share with you this morning. And the best part about it is I don't have to do it. No, that's is my beloved Robin is going to share a little bit of her background in leadership training and development and a specific area of knowledge that she's going to share with us today. So I'll leave it to you, Robin, to kind of unveil what we're doing and jump right in. And you're going to have to unmute yourself.
Okay, good morning, everyone. Happy Thursday morning. And this is where we do business chat. And then after a half hour, we actually get into any kind of Q&A you want about the business. So let me jump in. And we did this yesterday on the director's call, and they wanted it today for everybody because it's one of those little things that can make a huge difference in your life. So before I jump in, let me start a little bit about my background. A lot of you know about my background, some of you don't, but for many, many years, I worked in the area of leadership, personal leadership, organizational leadership, and for several decades, I facilitated a program called Enlightened Leadership. And I learned many, many things that I use every single day. And this is definitely one of them. And it's called conscious languaging. So, what is that? I mean, if you just break it down, being conscious about our language. How, aha. So what does that mean? And I'm going to share this quote I found that I think was really interesting. The mind has thousands of conscious thoughts per day, but it has an excess of 50,000 subconscious thoughts. When something pops into your subconscious brain and you have 30 seconds to change it before it implants and becomes something you actually believe. So if you can change how you think and change what you say, it can actually change the outcome of your day and your life. And so today I'm going to talk about the language that we use for ourselves, our self-talk, and the language we use with others around us. And I talked yesterday about the definition of leadership, and I'm going to frame that today for personal leadership. It's a topic that most people have never even heard, what I discovered, but when you hear it, it'll make total sense. And from my perspective, and if you asked anyone you ask their own definition of leadership, you'll probably hear different things, but I'm going to share my personal one. After all these years of working in the field of leadership, leadership is about direction. And when you think about personal leadership, it's what direction is your life going? And base that on what is most important, what your values are. And so we keep it really, really simple. And, from my perspective, leadership is about growing people. So we can talk about growing ourselves. And it's, one of my favorites is when you're in the presence of someone, you feel better about yourself than you did not in their presence. And that's what to me makes a great leader. So in Enlightened Leadership, we had some interesting concepts that we talked about. And I'm going to start out with focus factors because our brain is very amazing. And that quote was about subconscious thoughts of how we can catch them. But, if when we're conscious, one of the focus factors is we can only focus on one thing at a time. And we get more of what we focus on. Okay. So, and then the third one is the mind doesn't register don't or no. So let's break that down a little bit. We get more of what we focus on. And so let me kind of take a little aside here and get into personality profiles because we have started talking about that. We've done some Thursday mornings on that, and many of you have been through personality profile assessments, and there's many different models to do that, but there's basically four kinds, and many of you know about the color code by Taylor Hartman. And there's four personality profiles there. There's red, blue, yellow, and white. And the red, and I'm going to specify the red because that's what will make the biggest difference in this conversation. Because in our languaging, let me come back to the red in just a minute. In our languaging, people prefer to be asked versus told. You know that line, if I've told you once, I've told you 1,000 times. It doesn't work. None of us like to be told. And when Gregory and I got together, Gregory has a tendency, as many people do, to be directive and tell what he wants, which is very common for a red personality. They're very directive. And you know what? It doesn't land really well on most of us. So I just made it, because I've done this work for so long, I made it really clear, and he'll vouch for that, that I prefer to be asked versus told. And you want to make any comments, Honey?
Yeah, I've been a student of conscious languaging for 19 years now. And with such a great teacher that reminds me in very warm and sometimes not so subtle ways. And because I grew up in business management. I didn't grow up in leadership. I owned a business, I had employees, and I managed my business. But I learned from your teacher, Stephen Covey, you manage things, you lead people.
That is so true. Thank you, thank you, thank you.
Mhm.
Back in our Enlightened Leadership program, we'd have guidelines for when people would come in the room, of what our guidelines were for the program. And sometimes it was a 5 half-day transformational program. Sometimes it was a 1 day. Sometimes it was 1 hour. But the guidelines were always the same. And the purpose of one of the guidelines was to raise awareness. And, the difference between man and animal is like when you think about Pavlov's dogs, there's a stimulus and a response. There's the ringing of the bell and the salivation. Now, as humans, we're different. We get a stimulus, but we have a space between the stimulus and response where we have the power to choose what is our response going to be. And that's what makes us different, is that power to choose. Now, most of us have habits of how we do things, how we say things, how we think things. And my invitation, and notice I'm using very intentional languaging, my intention is to raise awareness so we all have the power to choose in the moment what is the best response for the situation that is going to, what we call, move us forward. So there's forward and backward focus, there's positive and negative attitudes, and you can have a positive attitude all you want, but if it's not focusing you on where you want to go, it's not going to do you much good. And I love sharing Stephen Covey stories. And he talks about, this person who's lost when they're driving, and they're driving in the city of Detroit, and they've got this great attitude, but they have a map of Chicago. Well, guess what? They're not going to get where they want to go because they've got the wrong map, but they've got a great attitude. So forward focus is really observing and being aware. Is this thought, is this choice taking me in the direction I want to go? So I'm going to talk about the awareness tool, and then we're going to talk about some examples. And let me clear my throat for a second. Hold on. Okay. So, the awareness tool. When we're in a room, one of the awareness tools was if you heard anyone say anything that was less than forward focus or empowering, you had permission to throw a Nerf ball at them. It doesn't hurt. It's just an awareness tool. Well, since we don't have Nerf balls here and we can't throw it at each other, one of the tools that I use that really works well, because you don't want to tell people, say to people, notice I just corrected myself versus tell and say, and we'll get into that in a little bit, is bring to their attention that there might be a better way to say that. So instead of saying you said it wrong, people don't like to feel judged. We don't want people to feel judged. And especially you don't want to feel like you're judging yourself. So we would say, would you like to say that another way? And many of you that have worked with me know that I do this a lot. Now, my personal challenge is that I taught and facilitated this for decades, and I have a heightened awareness of languaging, and I kind of cringe when I hear backward focus or limiting or unsupportive languaging, whether it's when people talk about themselves or they talk about other people. And so what we want to do is raise our own awareness. The program was called Enlightened Leadership, and there's a definition of enlightenment that I love. And I'll share it with you because you're going to go through this and it's going to be a fun tool. Enlightenment is catching ourselves off track quicker than the time before. So if you find yourself, telling your child, go do this, go do that, go clean your room, or you tell one of your brand partners or your customers, you have to, wear this 12 hours on, 12 hours off. You have to drink. You're making commands, you're making directive statements to them versus giving them an invitation, or versus, saying what works best is to be consistent, drink lots of water. We don't want to judge anyone for not drinking enough water. When people say, oh, I drink a lot, and I say, how many ounces a day is that? And they say whatever they say, and it's usually a minute fraction of what a lot is, from my perspective. So I very kindly help them become aware that, we use a guideline of body weight divided by 2 ounces. So again, when you're speaking to yourself or you're speaking to others, you want to pay extra careful attention to, what is coming out of your mouth. Is that directive or invitational? Are you inviting someone to do something? Do they feel no judgment? Do they not feel told? Because, telling just doesn't work. We've proved that. If I've told you once, I've told you a million times. Now, another thing that we talked about in Enlightened Leadership is, of 100% of people, there's about 10% that have a natural backward focus. They'll walk in a room and they'll look at what's wrong here, what's not working. It's just a natural wiring. This is not a judgment. This is an awareness. Because once we are aware, then we have the power, like I said earlier, to choose what we want to do in that moment. Okay. So we want, for instance, a firefighter to have a backward focus. So we want them to walk into, an environment and say, where is this not safe? That's a perfect, healthy approach of a backward focus. But if you're one of those people that has a natural backward focus wiring, it's really easy to look at what's not working, no matter what. Oh, this is going on, that's going on, the world's coming to an end, whatever it might be, and look in the business, look at yourself, I can't do this. They're so much better than me. Anytime you get into any kind of judgment at all about yourself or anyone else, that is not considered conscious languaging or a forward focus. So we want to be very gentle with ourselves, but the awareness is, let's say you catch yourself saying, and the two most powerful words in the English language, I believe, are I am. So notice what you put after those words. If you say, I am tired, and we get more of what we focus on, guess what you're going to get more of? I am sick. How many people do we hear? Oh my gosh, it's so hard for me, claiming and owning whatever this thing that the medical world told them they had. I know some people that don't go in to get a diagnosis just because they don't want to hear it. And it's interesting when you think about, doctors in the world, because they focused in a very specific area for so long, guess what they create in their own lives? An oncologist, guess what happens? Many times it's where their attention is. We get more of what we focus on. So what do you want more of? Very important to think about that. And so when you're looking at your business, what do you want more of? Okay, I want, and a lot of you know that I work a lot with intention, in addition to goals. I hold the intention. That's why I have people, early on when they're just getting started, really set the intention of what are the qualities and characteristics that you want in people you want to attract to you, whether they're customers or brand partners. In brand partners, you've heard me share my list many times, but for those of you that are new, these are some ideas, and you want to pick your own, feel free to use some of mine. But I want people that are professional and coachable, people that are willing to be a student, people that I like and share values. I want people that are looking for what we have and that are ready to change now. And that was a more recent one that I added to my list, because if you have all the others and the timing isn't right, the timing isn't right. And I personally, and some of you know this about me, I'm just kind of revealing a little bit here. I really don't like whining at all. I don't have any space for it. I don't have any patience for it. I have a lot of patience, but not for whining. So guess what? I don't attract whiners in my life, because that's on my list, that is. And so I want people that are forward focused, that are looking for what we have, that have a great attitude. And so this is our opportunity to design our business, design our life, attract the kind of people. My bottom line is, there's my phone. It's being charged, honey, on my new charger. It's like when I look at caller ID, oh my goodness, Gregory's calling me. Yay. That you're excited to pick up the phone. And so another of the focus factors that I think is important to realize is our mind doesn't register the word don't. And this is something that is rampant, epidemic in our culture. We see those signs with a line through them, you know, don't, you know, don't drink, don't smoke, right? Well, guess what? The mind isn't registering the word don't. And so it plants the seed of what you don't want in your mind. Don't smoke. And it's like, oh, you want to light up if you used to be a smoker or whatever. Don't drink. Oh, well, let me see. I need to have a drink. So really pay attention in your life. When you go to a hotel, I shared this one yesterday, and there's that sign on the door that says "Do not disturb." Guess what? Wrong sign. Let's say it could be better. So in the hotels I'm noticing that are conscious, you'll see the sign says something like "privacy, please." Because when, do not disturb, don't you want to find out what's going on in there? So my invitation, and I use that word a lot, is to really pay attention. So we want to set intention that we're going to be more conscious about what comes out of our mouth and what we're thinking. And you can, like that quote says, you can cancel it and choose again once you're aware of it. So when you become aware that something's about to come out of your mouth that may not be as forward focused, as expansive as you want, it may be limiting and putting you in a box or judgmental. If you catch yourself, that's enlightenment. Catching yourself off track quicker than the time before. So when you hear it, you want to go, yay, that's you were aware, you caught yourself, and you made the change. Now, this process is a lifelong journey. I just warn you, invite you to just heighten your awareness, because once we have the awareness, then we have the power to choose what is actually most supportive for that situation. There are times when it is supportive to look at what isn't working. Absolutely. But in your business, for the most part, what is working? There's another thing we used to talk about in Enlightened Leadership is being on a roll. And I used this example I think on Monday night, talking about Christina Holly, because Christina's on a roll. She did this amazing trade show. She did really, really well. She won the spin the other night. Things are popping in her business. She's going to be a director any minute. Things are happening for her. She's always sharing stories. She's one of our top contributors in the Facebook groups, and she's on a roll. Well, in our culture, we have a tendency to live in the question of when is, let's say we're on a roll, everything's working, and we think, oh, when's it going to stop? Guess what? It stops. And then we live in the question, why didn't it, why did it stop? Versus a better question. When you're on a roll, you want to live in the question of what's causing the roll to happen so you can continue being on a roll. I hope this makes sense. Let me see if there's anything else. So often we hear people say, "Oh, I don't have enough time. I'm tired." You can tweak that and say it in a more supportive way. Like, I have enough time to do everything that's important. And if you live in that place, guess what you're going to have enough time for? I don't have enough time to, exercise. I don't have enough time to blah, blah, blah. Guess what? It's all a choice and it's our choice. And so my invitation to everyone is to be conscious and aware of your own languaging and your own thoughts, because the thoughts happen first and then they come out of our mouth. So we can catch them when they're here, or we can catch them when they're partly out of our mouth and catch it and redirect it to what we do want more of. So that's a little, I think, honey, was there anything else I wanted? Oh, I just do want to say it's a muscle. You know, you you want to develop the muscle, and it takes time, and it takes being patient and being gentle with yourself. Because if you
Mm.
heard yourself saying something less than supportive, catch yourself and then acknowledge yourself like, good job, you caught it. And when you're with other people, make an agreement if there are people on your team and you want to share this, but the danger is to get into judgment. And because I see all over the place, don't forget to come to this event, versus remember. When we tell ourselves, don't forget to do this, don't forget to bring that, guess what happens? The mind doesn't register, don't. So I think I think I've got what I wanted to share this morning. And so I'm going to open up for
I got
questions,
something.
comments, anything that you guys want to share with me. I mean, I can go on and on and on and on, but this is a tool for life. But my invitation to each of you is to use it for yourself first. What is going on with you? Catch yourself off track quicker than the time before. Choose again. Acknowledge yourself. What we acknowledge, we get more of. What do you want more of? Over to you, honey.
Yeah, I just want to tell everybody how wonderful it is to be married to a conscious language coach.
Sometimes.
Sometimes, and I just want to share my first real connection with this concept with Robin when we first met, and I was a vice president of sales of a network marketing company, and she was a new distributor, and she, and so I organized the conferences. We had quarterly events and conferences, and I used to get letters, do this, this was bad, this, you should have done that, why wasn't the water the right temperature, all these things, and I was a recipient of it. And Robin taught me something that I shifted the energy of that company. And she said, there's a better way of doing that, and this I hope you all take to heart. And says, this didn't work, and why wasn't that, and you should have done this, the shoulda, coulda, wouldas. Instead, she taught me, what went well and what could even go better. And I was thinking this morning, that kind of falls right into the old book, 1 Minute Manager. Remember the old book, 1 Minute Manager? You pat them on the back before you kick them in the butt. You say, hey, so far I've noticed you've been really diligent. You're at work on time all the time. I really appreciate that. There's some things you could do better. It's like your work, but and that really works. What? And it takes someone that may have a backward focus, and it forces them into a forward focus to start with. Okay, so as you said, the intention is to get their intention, going forward. And so what went well? Let's celebrate what went well. Well, we had an event. What could have gone better? Well, this, next time I'd rather see that. So I just want to thank you for that. And just, maybe you want to expand on that for a moment before we, have a few people with their hands up that want to also share.
I'd love to, because that is, anytime you finish an event, um, a project, whatever, to do an assessment, because we, in our business, in our lives, we want to continually get better and better and better. So that was called the framework. And there were 5 steps to it, but we boiled it down to 2 steps. What went well? Because what happens is when you focus first on what went well, you get the energy moving in the forward direction. Interesting. Like Gregory and I took a course on conflict, and conflict is usually like this. Well, this master of dealing with conflict said, when you have a challenge with someone, you want to start off when you feel this, adversarial conflict situation, you want to start off with shared vision. What do we agree on? So you're getting the energy moving forward. And then what can we do even better? So there's no judgment there. Again, we would invite you to, pay attention to those little words that can make a huge difference in what direction are you going. And if you do notice judgment, catch yourself and go, let me say that another way. Okay, so thank you for bringing that up. That's great. So we got a few hands up. So let's start with Dolly, then Allie, then Sunshower. Dolly, you want to unmute your line? Oh, you did. Great. You're on.
Um, I just want to ask you if you would please share that quote in writing.
Which one?
Someplace, the one that you started out with, the,
Oh, sure. Oh, the long one about the thoughts in a day?
yes, that's really, really good for all of us.
Thank you, Dolly. Yes, I'll write it in the chat, and then after we finish the Q&A and get in, on our topic this morning, before we get into the rest, I'll put it in the chat and you can copy it from there, okay?
Can you get into the chat after the thing is done?
And not when it's over. Well, there
You
used
can
to
copy
be.
it, but you can't get into it.
Yeah.
So before it's over, you can copy the chat.
Okay,
You
thank
know.
you.
Yeah.
Yep, appreciate it. Thank you.
Sure.
And I that's right.
You want to say something else?
Um, I just really, really appreciate this, and I could listen to all of the suggestions and ways of dealing with this for another hour. So thank you very much. Thank you.
You're welcome. Now it's just time to practice, because the
Yes.
first step is the awareness. And then we have the power to choose. And we're used to doing things a certain way. So when you're changing a habit, it takes some time. So be gentle with yourself. Okay? Great. Who's next? I think Allie was next. Good morning, Allie.
I could listen to you all day long every day. I write a lot on this topic. And many years ago, I created a list of the empowering words and the disempowering words. And they're in very many of my books. And for those of us who self-test, all you have to do is choose something like don't forget to versus remember to, and you'll see what your body's telling you about that.
Beautiful.
And
Beautiful.
the other thing that you were saying, I'm a flaming for people who know the Enneagram. I sort for what's wrong and what's missing every single day in my meditation. I go through that with myself. And it's just like, I'm not there yet, but being in your presence so often is very helpful.
Oh, thank you so much, Ellie. And the fact that you have such heightened awareness, a lot of people don't know Ellie's story. Maybe sometime we should do a little interview, because this woman is an absolute miracle. And she would not be where she is if she did not have a tremendous amount of forward focus, because she was told by the outside world that she wouldn't really have a life. And she's what's the name of your book? A Thrive, what is it called?
It's Thrive, Don't Just Survive. And now I'm writing book 2 of that.
Okay, Thrive, Don't Just Survive. So there you have it, and she has been through some horrific situations. I mean, when I read it, I went, oh my gosh, this woman is a walking, talking, living miracle. The fact that she can even communicate, because she had no voice, she couldn't move her body, her brain was damaged. I mean, and look at her now. So, and she keeps getting better and better and better. So we're thrilled. to have you, Ellie. And thank you so much. You're a true embodiment of forward focus. Okay, Sunshower and then Lavelle.
Good morning, everybody. It's been my privilege to be part of listening to this kind of talk by Robin before. And I'll mention now what I mentioned last time, and that was when I started learning about forward focus, I created something for myself to remind myself. And so
Oh.
if I heard myself, you know, with a backwards focus, I would stomp my foot on the ground 3 times.
That's
And
your awareness tool.
and that's what you called that, Robin, was pattern interruption.
Mm.
Yes.
Mm.
That's, and then when you have do a pattern interrupt, when something like that happens, it's so beautiful, Sunshower, then you are aware. Is what I just said or just did taking me where I want to go or not? But you have to have that awareness to have the power to choose. And that's what makes us human. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Stomp, stomp, stomp. Love it. That's great. Okay, Lavelle, your hand is up. Good morning.
Great job, Connie, Greg, in the comments. It goes back to what you said about I am. You can wake up in the morning and say, I am great. you, you can wake up in the morning and say, I am a superstar. Our wife has put something together, Majay. When we wake up, the whole family says, good morning, I love you. That's how we start our day.
Oh,
Forward focus is what it's all about. So I just wanted to share that. And that's how we start our day. And my wife say, you came in here and asked me for something, but are you gonna say good morning, I love you first?
it's a great habit for a family, isn't it? Good morning, I love you.
Thank you, Mijay. And she's listening in the background.
That's beautiful. That's beautiful. Thank you, Lavelle. Julianne.
Good morning.
Good
So
morning.
I was listening to a podcast yesterday, and one of the things that they had mentioned in there is a visual. So if you are a baseball player, you want to focus on the ball. You don't want to focus on first base, outfield. If your eye is on the ball, you will hit the ball. If you are hammering a nail, if you are not looking at the nail, you are not going to hammer that nail. If you're driving in a car and you're looking off to the left, where are you going to go? You're going to go off the road and go off to the left. So I just find that just really fascinating because our mind is the same thing, just like it is. Wherever you focus, you will go. And Robin and Carolee and my whole team has always been so aware of my language when I first started. And I was always in the mindset of backwards thinking. And I am so much clearer and so much more forward focused because I have a vision. I have the power. I can and I am doing this. And I'm not a quitter. So even if it takes me a little
Would you
bit
like to say
longer,
that another way?
I said, even when
I'm not a quitter. How would you like to say that?
no, I said there's no time frame. It's the time it takes and the steps it takes. And it's just the willpower to keep moving forward.
You've come a long way, sweetheart. And it's so, this is my greatest joy is, is sharing things. And in this business, Gregory and I, you've heard us say this many times, call it a greenhouse. It's a safe place to grow. And we just get to witness all of us growing together and blossoming and changing so many lives. So it's so beautiful. And you are an amazing student, Julianne. It's a pleasure and a joy to work with you. Thank you. So I see no more hands, and I know Gregory, you had some things you wanted to share this morning, so I hope we didn't take up too much time.
No, this is perfect timing. The timing is just perfect. On yesterday's director's call, one of our leaders, Kayla Becky, says, this is so great. tomorrow, could we do this, but put a little focus on, language that applies to our business? We said, funny you should mention that, because we had a discussion about that. Actually, Judy Daniel and Liz Hodges and Robin and I had a discussion about that just the other day. And I said, we sure can. In fact, I'm going to go ahead and share my screen, because I want to share with you where you can find this wonderful document. It's called Words That Work, and that Judy Daniel created. And it's all positive, forward-focused languaging applying to, our daily method of operation. So if you go to in here to step 2, if you just click and go to, you can click several places to get there. But when you get to the getting started checklist, you go to step 2, where we're talking about our simple daily method of operation. By the way, if you only teach a new person one thing, teach them this one thing, the daily method of operation, because this is the name of the game. This is the game we work. But you want to, and we got a few examples. What do you know about stem cells? Are you in any pain? I recently learned. But if you click here, there's a full-blown document that I'm going to, ask Judy to step in. Let's see if I can get it. I need to change my sharing so you can see it. So hold on just a moment, please. And I'll reshare my screen with this magnificent document that Judy Daniel created for us. So Judy, hello, and do you want to chime in now and talk about Words That Work?
I sure do, Gregory and Robin. Big, huge thanks to you. I kept thinking of when I taught high school, and I had a grade 10 or grade 11 boy come up to me after the class, very upset with the grade that he received, the mark. And when he finished, I said, you know what? Is there any chance you could say that a different way? And he said, what do you mean? I said, well, all I could hear was how upset you are. If you say it a different way, maybe I can hear why you're upset. And he went, oh, and he said it another way. And it's just this reminder. So Robin, thank you for reminding me to always stay tuned in with myself and to use the verbiage that really works. In network marketing, it's all about the verbiage. I learned that years ago. So I took many phrases that we had dotted around the liveyoungersuccess.com website, and I categorized them and put the phrases that work for step 1, piquing their interest, the verbiage for step 2, sharing the videos, same thing with follow up and enroll. So it's just kind of categorizing them. I invite you to print them out, laminate it. That way it won't get, it'll always be available. Have it next to you and choose a phrase that you want, a certain verbiage, and see how it works for you. And I will point out that under step 1, pique their interest. I have, oh no, sorry, it's under number 2. No wonder. Don't even know my own layout here. Step 2, share videos. The first bullet, would it be okay if? So I discovered that from one of Big Al's books, Tom Schreider, Big Al, network marketing trainer. And this is the only phrase I want to comment on for today because it's powerful. Would it be okay if? Big Al said that about 80% of the population is geared, programmed, who knows why, to say yes after hearing that phrase. And so Big Al said, why don't we employ the phrases that work? And once people on my team and myself started introducing it, would it be okay if I sent you a 2-minute video, a 3-minute video? The ratio of people who said yes went up. So I hope you explore that phrase, and I can't tell you how often I use these phrases in my everyday life. Back to you, Gregory.
Well, wait, I want to jump in here. Notice that would it be okay if is a question, okay? And versus I'm going to send you a 3-minute video. And it's very, very, it's subtle but powerful. And then I'd like to invite you to check out a short video. Watch this video. just notice what you're saying and what you could say even better, possibly. Thank you so much, Judy.
Oh, you're welcome, Robin. And I'd like to do a tip of the hat to our wonderful Mike Gerard, who's no longer walking planet Earth with us. And he referred to network marketing, MLM, relationship marketing as invitational marketing, which is what you're talking about, Robin.
Beautiful. Thank you. Thank you. Okay.
So I just want to draw us back and I'd like to suggest that when you, or I'd like to invite you, when you enroll a new member and you're walking them through our step 2, when you're showing them Live Younger Success and you're walking them through the daily method of operation, encourage them to click here for the words at work and print it out and laminate it, because one of the biggest challenges that new members of your team are going to have is what to say. And we've got this beautiful document, Words at Work, to tell people what to say in each of these 4 steps of our proven plan of action. So that was absolutely brilliant putting it together that way, Judy. Can't thank you enough. And so I guess at this point, we'll open it up for a little Q&A on this subject that we've talked about today, or anything.
Anything business related.
Yeah, not anything. Yeah, we'll leave politics and sex out of this for today.
Yeah. It's very quiet out there. And I did put that quote in the chat for anyone who wants that. Paul or Valerie, we're not sure.
Valerie.
We love both of you. Want to unmute your line?
There you
There
are.
she says, I had a feeling it was you. Hi, honey.
Yes. Sorry about that. Hello. I have a question because you have really hit on several of my weaknesses. Where would you direct me and anybody else that really wants to digest on forward thinking? Some good training.
Okay, let's go back before we get there. We've hit on several of your weaknesses. And
Yes.
this is for everybody, actually. So thank you for being willing. So what might be a better way to say that?
You've hit on some things that I'd really like to make strengths.
All
Things I'd
right.
like to practice better.
Okay. So when we're holding and owning weaknesses, guess what we get more of? So,
Weaknesses.
yeah. There's, oh my gosh, as far as resources, you can do a deeper dive into conscious languaging. You can look into appreciative inquiry, which is the foundation of the work I did with Enlightened Leadership. It's really all about asking questions that move you in the direction that you want to go, or other people. So it's a teaching called appreciative inquiry. And I think if you just, I mean, I had fun playing around online. I went back to my old Enlightened Leadership notes, but I was playing around online and on conscious languaging, and I got that quote that I shared this morning. So just give that a try. And the most important thing is really practice, because you already know it. And so it's, first of all, being aware, where is your focus and where's your attention when you're speaking to yourself or speaking to others, and then practice and have fun with it. And, when you're doing something new, it's good to tell people, I'm trying, I'm working on, a way to be more empowering in my languaging, and I might be a little awkward. So stick with me. Okay. Because when we make a change, sometimes we're a little awkward at first. So have fun with it. But most importantly, you've got the concept. You just got to practice.
Thank you very much. I appreciate that.
That's for everybody. We have a lifelong journey on this one. And the challenge is when your awareness is heightened, you hear all over the place how much is not conscious. And so I just have to bite my tongue and hold back, because it's not my job to change everybody else, unless they ask to help them.
I've been learning how red I might be. I've got red rising.
Well, we're all a combination of it, and just kind of pay attention to the people that are really directive in your life, and watch what's going on in their life. And people that have a backward focus and always looking for what's wrong, just notice what's going on in their life, because guess what? They continue to attract more of that. And so it's not that it's bad to have a natural backward focus, but what you want to be is conscious that that's your nature, and then choose in the moment what is the most empowering thing to say or do. Yeah. Michelle, you've got your hand up. Want to unmute your line, hun? I know you're trying.
Thank you. Thank you. Yes, I was trying on my phone. It's hard. I just want to echo what everyone has said. What an amazing training. Thank you. Thank you, Robin. I did put into the chat a book that a friend of mine told me about. I actually haven't finished it, but it is phenomenal. Have you heard, Robin, of Conscious Language, The Logos of Now by Robert Tennyson Stevens?
Well, there you have it. There's the
Okay,
book.
everybody. And then the subtitle, The Discovery, Code, and Upgrade to Our New Conscious Human Operating System.
Beautiful.
I love this book. So yeah, I put it in the chat.
Thank you, thank you, thank you. Love it. Love it. Okay, I don't see any more hands, but we have Sunshower's birthday. So
Woohoo!
happy birthday, Sunshower. How many?
Really?
Yes. Be
75
proud.
years young today.
75?
Yes.
Woohoo! Check it out, everybody. This is what's possible.
Good.
She's rocking and rolling. I love it.
The patches work.
Yeah, there you go. Okay, Mary Rudy. Hi, sweetheart. Haven't seen you in a while. Oh, you're on mute, hon. You're on mute.
Unmute.
Unmute your line.
Hey, sorry.
Now you're muted again.
You unmuted for a second there.
There you
Try it
go.
again.
Huh.
Unmute.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah.
Okay, good. Sorry about that. I'm out in Vermont now, and actually my real name is Mary O'Neill, but I haven't figured out how to change that online. But anyway, nice to hear your wonderful talk, Robin. Thank you for that. And I want to put a lot more attention into my LifeWave vision this summer. And I was thinking of going back and connecting with every person in my organization who has just fallen away from ordering or fallen away from even using the patches, and how to do it. What would be what would be a great language to reconnect with them? How are you? And how's your family? Some of them are friends of mine, but how to reintroduce the idea of revisiting or look at the patches or something new that LifeWave has, another product, without sounding, to invite them to do that in a real forward way that would be inviting them to take another look. If you would have any good, words and language for that.
Beautiful. And you and lots of other of us have that same situation. We have some red X's and we want to reach out to people. And so, getting back in touch, saying it's been a long time, and I know that when you started the patches, you had, a desired outcome. And, could you remind me what that was? And what could, is there anything I could have done better? Or, I've learned a lot since then, and I might be able to assist you in getting more of that result from all that I've learned. But the first and most important thing is to take the time to reconnect. It's been a while since we've talked. I see your name on my thing, and I just want to I first of all wanted to be in touch, catch up, see how you're doing, how's life. And then, I'd love to visit a little bit about what we have here and really support you in getting what your initial desired outcome was. Yeah. And we did we did several programs on retention and had several of our leaders really share what they do, because retention is really, really important. And it comes from, as Gregory learned from hiring a consultant, the top two things that support retention are connection and education. and say, I really realize that you're totally committed to health, and I come across some great things. Would it be okay if I once in a while sent you an email or a message about something I find that would support what you're trying to accomplish? Getting permission marketing, getting their permission to stay in touch, and you never know what's going to unfold from there. Is that helpful?
Yes, that's very helpful. And I have several people who stopped because they said they had some kind of reaction, varying from an itchiness from the stickiness of the pad to excessive thirst to getting no result. But often it was some kind of reaction, and I didn't know at the time, or I wasn't able to reach them in time before they quit. Why that might have happened. But since I've listened to so many doctor calls that we've had, they've often explained what happens or what doesn't happen in time before somebody stops and what you might say. So to go back to someone who did try them for 3 months and stopped, would you just sort of say the same things that I've learned different things, more things that
I realized that you had a reaction, and at the time I was new and I didn't understand. Now I understand more that what was going on was actually good. And are you open to hear a little bit about that? Because what's most important for me is for you to get what you want out of this technology. So, coming back, being totally transparent and honest. I was newer then. I've learned a lot since then, and the patches were working. It just didn't feel so good. And are you open, again, permission? Are you open to hear some things that I've learned that might be supportive for you?
Oh, that's wonderful. Open. I like that phrase very much. Thank you, Robin.
Yes. Great.
And one more thing I might add to that, would you be open to listen to a call on Sunday evening? We have a call, a doctor's call talking about results, and you can ask questions there. But if anybody goes to the Sunday evening call, they're going to hear people talking about delayed results, delayed gratification. And sometimes, the best things take the longest, and some things happen immediately. And I think people need to understand that, they didn't get the way they are overnight, and it may take longer than a day, a week, or a month to see a change. But that Monday night call, Sunday night, is a belief builder.
The doctors, yes, I have.
Mhm.
And so you would always connect with the people first before sending them an email about the Sunday call.
I think so. A personal invitation, if they've already purchased product in the past or you've had previous conversations, you want a personal invitation. You want a heart to heart as opposed to email to email.
Yeah.
Computer to
Okay.
computer.
And if they say they're busy Sunday, and I know there's no replays for that, I was thinking of inviting them to just watch the doctor forum video that Robin posted from the live event that has that
Yeah.
panel of doctors.
That's great.
That's
And
a YouTube one. It's pretty powerful, I think.
we have our live Monday morning miracle calls that are similar to the Sunday night, and they're available on replay.
Right. Okay.
And Tuesday night. So we've got all you're wanting to connect and see if they're open. As you're saying, I've learned so much about this technology, and I keep thinking of you and the benefits that are possible that you might not have gotten because you didn't stay on long enough or whatever. But just have it be about them and what's important to them.
That's great.
Yeah.
Thank you.
And invite your upline onto one of those calls.
Okay. Great. Thank you so much.
Okay. Lavelle.
Okay, great. Someone was saying that they wanted to get better, or we all want to get better. One thing that we always teach is you want to get a workout, somebody to hold you account of getting better with your conscious language. And that's a great thing because then you're encouraging them and they're encouraging you, and it's a win-win-win-win. And yesterday I did share a scripture, and I like to just do that one more time. This one is another one. It says Proverbs 16:24 says, gracious words are a honeycomb, sweet to the soul and healing to the bones.
That's great.
When we're using positive or yeah, just positive, forward-thinking words is healing. And like you said, Robin, sometimes when you hear people doing backward talking, you cringe. And I'm kind of the same way. Everything just to be rosy, it isn't always that way. But hey, guys, if we help one another, and that's what it's all about.
And you brought up something really, really important. If it's someone close to you and someone that you deeply love and care about, or one of your brand partners, and how do you approach the subject that they don't know what you know about this languaging, and they say something that is less than empowering for themselves or their business, what would you do about it? And first of all, I think it's always good to ask permission, saying I've been learning about being more conscious with my language, take it personally instead of making them feel like they're judged, and saying, I'm really learning a lot about how to use my language to get more of what I want. And, when I hear you say what you just said, part of me cringed, because I know what you want. And are you open to tweak your languaging a little bit to get more of what you want? Just kind of, say, what I've been learning, and I've been making some changes myself, and I'd love to support you if you're open to it. So, getting permission from your teammates, from your family, from the people around you, and sometimes they don't want it, and that's okay. But at least you asked. But thank you for bringing that up, Lavelle. Diane.
Good morning and happy birthday to Sunshower. Forgive me, but I cannot find the words that work. Where is that again? I thought I had it saved to my drive, but I can't find it to save again.
You go to Live Younger Success and just click on Getting Started Now, going to step 1, 2, and 3.
Okay.
Step 2 is the is our proven plan of action, and right at the bottom it says click here to download the PDF Words at Work.
Okay. Thank you so much. I sure appreciate it.
And thank you for asking, because if you didn't had the question, I'm sure others did too. We've got to make that document more pronounced, because it's so valuable. I think every new person, should get that, should have
Yes, I'm actually wanting it not just for myself, but for someone who
Mhm.
I'm wanting to sign up to encourage her.
Because that's the biggest challenge. It's something brand new, and we've been practicing, but until someone starts, they have had no practice, and this gives them some words to practice with.
Exactly. Thank you so much.
You're
Thanks for
welcome.
asking.
And
Well, we're right at the top of the hour. You want to wrap it up, honey?
yeah, I just had this other thought that, if you are one of those people that maybe is quite directive in your languaging, and has a natural backward focus, please, please, please be very gentle with yourself, because it's your natural wiring. But the key is awareness. And once you're conscious and aware, then we all have the power to choose what is going to be the most empowering thing to say versus what our habitual natural wiring is. It makes you that much more impactful, because you're that much more conscious. So be gentle and make those subtle little changes, and continue to acknowledge yourself. We had this other tool in Light Leadership called DNA. Decide, notice, acknowledge. I'm going to decide to be more conscious with my languaging. And every time I notice that I'm choosing empowering languaging, I'm going to acknowledge myself. DNA. Okay? Invitation for everyone for your homework. Have fun and come back and report. And I do want to just on the birthday girl's special day, I want to say what an incredible honor it is to have witnessed this woman absolutely blossoming. She has been an incredible student. Precious Sunshower, you've done so much work on yourself, and it is showing, and it's so beautiful. So happy birthday, darling. Thank you. Thank you, thank you, thank you.
We love
Yes.
you, Sunshower.
We love you.
Happy
Sunflower.
birthday.
Happy birthday.
Thank you,
birthday,
Robin.
Great
Thank
time.
you, Gregory.
Happy
Have a
birthday,
great time in
Sunflower.
Bora Bora.
Happy
Have a great
birthday.
time in
Thank
Bora
you.
Bora.
Happy
Bora
birthday.
Bora.
Good
Thank
job,
you.
Robin.
Birthday,
Thank you, Sunflower.
Beautiful job.
Happy
Golly, Sarah, this
birthday.
morning.
Happy
Golly.
birthday,
Wonderful job.
Sunflower.
Thank you.
Happy birthday.
Happy
Be safe.
birthday.
Buddy.
Happy birthday to you. Woo-hoo.
Birthday to you.
Nice.
Okay.
Happy
And
birthday,
we'll
dear
see
Sunflower.
you in 2 weeks on this call.
Back now with more of the NBA Finals. My friend
Enjoy Bora
Got
Bora.
over 80.
Night.
Bora Bora. Woohoo.
Thank
Bora
you guys
Bora.
so much. What a great call.
It was a phenomenal call.
It was. Thank you so much.
Replay.
Yeah.
Hey,
Be up later
Robin.
today. Yeah.
Robin, this is Mijay.
Yes.
Hey, Robin, if you open your suitcase, and only Robin, not Gregory, but if you open your suitcase and my face pops out, just sit it aside and take me everywhere you go, okay?
Okay.
Bye-bye.
I love you guys. I love you all.
Okay, love you all. See
Enjoy
ya.
your
Thank
trip. You guys
you.
deserve it.
Enjoy.
Woo. Bye.
They can guard their position at a high level, and their cross positional